Hey guys, it's Tracy from TMC Coaching, and you are watching an episode of From the Garage. We're actually not in the garage today. I know I got busy today, and I wanted to get this into you for those that are following me and you're expecting at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then, hey, there's no From the Garage. Where's Tracy at? I hope you had a great weekend. I know I did. We let off some fireworks. We had a great time together as a family with my mother and my father, and then my son, his wife, and all the family was around together. We got to light off some fireworks and eat together. So in the last couple of days, I have actually been centered in my thinking around something that my clients are working through right now. And I found it interesting that there were so many of my clients that were working through the same topic. It wasn't that I was bringing it up, they were bringing it to me. And so since I thought, well, I've got 3 or 4 that are actually working through this, I wanted to bring this up to you. And it's actually just 2 words. It's on role clarity. I've actually entitled this episode, What is Your Function? And the title is meaningful. At least it is to me. Because when I was a kid, I recall a television series that was put out by ABC in the 70s, and I think it had about 7 seasons that it actually ran, and then it had, of course, the same seasons that were repeated and so forth. But what the writers of this particular program wanted to do for children was to bring animation and music in an after-school setting to where when kids came home from school, they're still getting educated or reminded of what they were likely to have learned in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and especially through the elementary years. And I will never ever forget what the purpose or the function or the role of a conjunction is. I won't forget it because of this program called Schoolhouse Rock. Now, some of you may remember it, as you'd have to be a little bit older in the viewing audience. But Schoolhouse Rock, basically, in this particular program, I remember it was an engineer, and he had his cap on and his striped overalls, and had the locomotives out there, and they were attaching the boxcars. And as they would attach the boxcars, it was actually a lesson on English grammar about the parts of speech, and how you had your subject, you had your verb, and you had your adjectives, your adverbs, and then you had this conjunction, right? And so as they were putting together, they joined this animation and this locomotive boxcar hitching up with a little jingle. Conjunction, junction, watch your function, hooking up words and phrases and clauses. And I never will forget that. For some reason, that particular episode stood out in my mind, that I now know the role of a conjunction in a sentence because of this program. In businesses, role clarity is absolutely important. It's critical that we have it. I want to give you, there's many reasons, but I want to give you 5 reasons for the importance of having role clarity in your business, and then what happens if you do not have role clarity. Firstly, I'd say that this role clarity in your business and in mine, knowing your purpose gives you confidence. When you know what you're supposed to do, you have a greater level of confidence. Also, knowing your role or your function gives you responsibility, at least a sense of responsibility. You know what you're supposed to do. You have now confidence, and you know your responsibility, your role is given. Thirdly, I think it's important to have the roles clarified in a business, is because it affords ownership. When you know what you're supposed to do and you take responsibility for it, if you did it correctly, it's celebrated. If you didn't do it correctly, then we have to consider, okay, what can I do to help so that you can do this better the next time? There's an ownership that happens when the role is clarified. Also, role clarity, knowing your part, it allows for creativity. Not only this is my job and I want to do it, but I want to do it well. And if the training that I received is subpar, or maybe we can improve this, I have a little wiggle room for creativity because I know what I'm supposed to do. Then also, I think it increases performance. Knowing your job, what you're supposed to do, You get very creative with it. You take ownership for it. You're responsible for it. You have confidence. And guess what? The job gets done better because you know what you're supposed to do. But what happens if you don't know your role? If your function is unclear? Well, I think unique talents that all people possess, certain gifts, they're wasted. I think also internal drive becomes exhausted. In other words, an employee that comes to work and they're ready to go, but they don't know what they're supposed to do. Now they're zipping their zeal for doing a job and giving their best is exhausted. Thirdly, I think vital tasks that your business and mine must have done remain incomplete. And then fourthly, people become disconnected from the team. They don't feel connected with each other because they don't know what their job. There's nothing that, like two yoke of oxen being teamed together, that's a team and they can pull so much more weight. Teams being disconnected because of unclear functions, it really hurts morale. And then the last thing that I want to say about this, without role clarity really being given, leaders feel isolated. Their superior hasn't let them know what they're supposed to do. They can't let their team know what to do. They feel like they're on an island all by themselves. 97% of all employees and executives believe this. When teams are not in alignment with their purpose or their function, the entire operation suffers. So what's your function? What are you doing? What is your role at your place of employment? What is your role in your business? Are you the business owner? What is your role? What is your function? What is it that you do? I know this, that if you don't know where you're going, how will you know if or when you arrive? Thanks for joining me today on From the Garage. Be well.